Let's start with that story. Ohio has rejected a Republican motion to make it harder to change the state's constitution. It's a move that's seen as a defeat for anti-abortion groups. The Republican-controlled state legislature had hoped to raise the bar for constitutional amendments to 60% instead of a simple majority. It was largely seen as a move to derail a planned referendum to place abortion rights into the Constitution. Let's get more on that and all things when it comes to US politics. We're joined by our US special correspondent, Katty Kay, who is in Washington. Katty, so lovely to see you. President Biden's already spoken about this, calling it a victory for democracy and for women. But can you explain why this result in Ohio is being seen as such a big win for abortion rights supporters?
Well, look, it's another red state, Lucy, that has taken on the issue of abortion, and the population seems to have voted in favor of abortion rights. This is August. It's the time you go on holiday. Every political consultant I've ever spoken to says, don't try and do anything big and significant in politics in August because people are on holiday, they're not focused, they're getting their kids back to school, you're not going to get people to turn out. Well, in Ohio yesterday, 3 million people turned out. That's a quarter of Ohio's population turned out basically in favor of abortion rights. I was just speaking to Ohio's Democratic senator, and I asked him, what does this presage for 2024? And he told me this shows that abortion is still a big issue. It's still going to drive people to the polls. And Democrats hope that what they saw in Ohio last night, what they've seen in Kansas, what they've seen in Kentucky, what they've seen in Wisconsin, indicates to them that abortion is still going to be a motivating issue for Democratic voters, and it's still going to get people into the polls next November.
Another talking point in the US at the moment, Katty, seems to be, of course, what former President Donald Trump is up to, and he was in New Hampshire at quite a big rally last night. What did he say and how are people reacting?
Yeah, I was watching Donald Trump last night, and I've been watching him, of course, over the last few years, Lucy. I don't think I've seen him this sort of vitriolic since back in the 2015-2016 campaign. He's clearly really angry about this latest lawsuit that's come at him from the Justice Department around his dealings in the January the 6th riots just at the Capitol, just behind me. And he was making that very clear. He was attacking the Biden administration. He was attacking the institutions of American government. He is trying to pin, it seemed to me from listening to him last night in New Hampshire, he's trying to pin everything that is happening to him legally, from the prosecutor Jack Smith directly to the Biden administration, and saying to his supporters, look, they're not just attacking me, they're attacking you as well. So he was fired up. He still sees this as a winning issue. As he said last night, one more indictment, and we're looking at the possibility next week of another indictment coming from the state of Georgia. One more indictment and this election is over, is what he's telling his supporters. That's going to be his message going forward as these indictments and these trials start coming down the pipe.
But Katty, since that last indictment on August the 1st, which was by far the most significant that we've seen, what has been the reaction more widely? Have we seen any change in his poll numbers?
It's interesting. I haven't seen the poll numbers shift specifically, but we have had one indication. One is that TV ratings were not as high for this indictment as they were either for the one in Florida around the Mar-a-Lago documents case, or particularly for the one last November in the sexual assault case that we saw with E. Jean Carroll. And also fundraising. Watch his fundraising numbers, because he got a big fundraising boost after the first time he was arrested. After the second time in Florida, not so much. And it looks initially like after the time in DC too, not so much either. So a lot of Donald Trump's money that he has raised for his campaign is going on his legal fees. He needs to make sure that he can keep fundraising off those court appearances. It's kind of why he turns up to court. His campaign thinks it's great for him to be able to show himself as the victim of a state that is trying to prosecute him, of a Biden campaign that is trying to prosecute him. But it's also very good for his fundraising numbers, except that it hasn't been with the last two arrests. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Watch the money.
Yeah. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, he's really sinking in the polls at the moment if we look at polls. And it was really interesting. I saw an interview with him and his wife the other day, Katty, sort of bringing in one of his Trump cards, as it were, Casey DeSantis. She's very popular as well. But I saw the criticism that people are saying, look, the campaign is sort of rudderless, it lacks direction when he's out on the trail. He's also shaken up his campaign staff. Is that going to make much of a difference?
I think he's in a really tight spot, Lucy. I mean, yes, he's replaced his campaign manager with somebody from his office as governor in the hope that he can get more money. He's had to shed campaign staff because he's running out of money at the moment. Clearly, he's not doing well in the polls, but he's got himself into the position where he's almost trying to run to the right of Donald Trump, but there just aren't very many people in the Republican Party who are on the right of the Republican Party who don't like Donald Trump. The avenue that he initially tried to take as the sensible pro-business governor who was running for office, who'd done a good job down in Florida, he slightly closed that off because of his attacks on the corporation Disney in the state of Florida. And if he doesn't turn this around fast, I mean, maybe his new campaign manager can do this, but if he doesn't turn this around fast, increasingly we're looking at a Biden-Trump rematch next year. And the people I have spoken to around the DeSantis campaign, they aren't feeling particularly optimistic that there are many avenues left for him.
So, Katie, we spent a lot of time talking about the Republicans, but I started by giving everyone President Biden's response to what we saw in Ohio, saying this was a big win for women particularly. Where has President Biden been over these past few weeks, and how are people across the country feeling about him and his leadership at the moment?
It's a great question, and it's something I want to do some more reporting on, and I want to write a piece on this, because there's Joe Biden out at the moment, out west in the country, touting his economic progress. Here you are in the United States, inflation is down, unemployment is down, the economy is going gangbusters. The president wants to take credit for that. He's pumped billions of dollars into the American economy with his Bidenomics proposals and his Bidenomics bills over the last couple of years, and yet his poll numbers aren't going up. He can't get much attention because look at all the attention that's being paid to Donald Trump. In a way, the only way for Joe Biden to get the kind of press attention that he needs at the moment would be to talk about Donald Trump, but he doesn't want to talk about Donald Trump. He doesn't want to give Donald Trump the spotlight, and he doesn't want to make this the Justice Department, he doesn't want to link these prosecutions too tightly to his own administration. He's trying to have church and state there and separate them. So he doesn't want to be talking about the legal problems that Donald Trump is in. He's in a kind of bind. And I know from my conversations, I was speaking to somebody at the White House just this morning, it is frustrating them that they aren't managing to make more headway, that they aren't managing to sell the economic message better to the American people. It's why Joe Biden is out on the campaign trail at the moment. And it's why you're going to see the White House continuing over the next few weeks and months, really try to hammer home, look, these are the policies we have implemented for you. This is what it's doing to the American economy, and this is what it's doing for you as a voter, and hope that that message manages to get some kind of traction with voters here.
Great to see you, Katie. Thank you so much.